All right, getting down to the last couple issues here. This one is climate change. Uh, as I said earlier, if I think I have some background on a topic, I'll share it with you. And if I don't, I'll share it with you. So I claim no expertise in the area of climate change, um, and very little knowledge. Right? Um, I can say I'm for it, you know, and kind of like I'm, against murder. So I'm for helping the environment and trying to solve anything that's changing the climate, whatever humans are doing. All right. Um, I will say that green climate issues have created billions, probably trillions of dollars in government contracted businesses that didn't exist 20 years ago. And that smells like a lot of waste and fraud to me. The lobbying that goes on for green initiatives, um, it's there. When there's money, there's trouble, and it feels a lot like the boy who cried wolf. Sometimes, you can get frustrated. When I say the boy who cried wolf, I'm talking about Al Gore. Um, you can get frustrated when people keep telling you that if we don't do this in the next 5 years, the world's going to go to this, or if this doesn't happen in the next 10 years, the world's going to go to this, and then it doesn't happen. Okay, it it's one of those things where at some point it just becomes noise, and at some point you're like, whatever. It's for the environment. Even though I'm pretty sure, I'm doing three different garbage cans and they're all getting taken by the same guy in the same truck. So I don't know who's separating them. Um, but what I would say is this: there's a guy I like a lot, John Stossel. I'm pretty sure he's a libertarian. And for those who don't know who he was a you know talking head news reporter for a very long time, and then he's out on his own now, and he does kind of in depth um, uh, podcasts on very specific issues, and he's very thorough, and he always brings on um, uh, very credible individuals to speak. And I've seen a couple on climate change, and John Stossel has brought on some very very compelling scientists, some scientists who have very compelling arguments over what is and isn't real with climate science and with the effect on um, how humans are actually affecting the environment. Um, I know one of my favorite comedians, or as of late anyway, is Bill Maher, and one of the things I like about Bill is he tends to tell the crazies, and crazies they're crazy, and that he wants his Democratic Party back. Um, and I like that, because I think that having a good Democratic Party to make reasonable arguments and discussions with the Republican Party um, make us a better country. Um, and so, but one of his things that I really do think, frankly, I think he's got a blind spot on is the environment, and it's his big issue, and he's very much thinks that we should do everything we possibly can. Um, but he tells a funny story about Los Angeles and about trying to get his uh, um, solar panels done at his house, and I think it took several years, and the government bureaucracy, you had to build a separate building for it, and the cost is astronomical. Something no one else could afford to do this and would do this, and why they do this, and he regretted doing this. And I think that's the issue I'm having with a lot of climate change, is that kind of stuff. Is that it's grown these cottage industries, it's grown these um, um, governmental bureaucracies that are just waste. Okay, um, whether or not you know climate change is real, that's not my argument. Okay, I mean, I have to think we're doing something. right? Um, you know, just with the pollutants we put out there. Um, but I think there is debate. I think there's room for debate. I think there's really smart people out there, scientific people, um, who will debate both sides of how severe that is. And I also think it's just wasting so much money that could be going to better things.